Welcome back. Journal Star Podcast Sportswriters. I'm sports editor Wes Huett. Here with me, as always, Adam Duvall.
Hello, hello.
John Komosa.
How's it going?
Hello, boys. Well, Adam, we have a state champion. Not really surprised by it. We still need to celebrate it, though.
Yeah,
Morton
absolutely.
Girls.
Absolutely. We were sitting next to each other at the semifinal game against Nazareth, and the start that they had was a little unconventional.
Right.
And then you mentioned to me as the game, because they were losing 11-4, and as you mentioned to me, I think maybe it was early third quarter.
Yeah.
You're like, Bob Becker, he's
Coaching the pants off the other guy.
Yeah,
that's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah, he's going to make adjustments, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I think the analogy I used was like a football analogy where like scripted plays. I felt like LaGrange kind of knew what Morton was going to do early, but then they just adjusted and ended up getting a lot of backdoor cuts and easy layups, and then their pressure took over, and it looked like LaGrange was getting a little frustrated at times too.
Yeah.
That was because obviously, I mean, when that happens, you see that at state a lot, where teams roll through their geographic area of the state, and they come there and they get punched in the mouth, and they're like, well, we don't know how to deal with this necessarily. And Morton was just really once they settled down a little bit. I was really I liked the it's like Becker. I think he took out his three starters except for Dowell and Dullard. And basically just said, okay, you're going to make some adjustments.
Right, absolutely.
You don't play hard and do what I want. You're going to
and then
sitting down.
How good this team is. Okay, so the first quarter, I had to find my notes here. They committed 6 turnovers, and they were 2 for 9 from the field. They ended up shooting 50% for the game and committing 13 turnovers.
So pretty much the last 3 quarters, they
just okay, and you could tell initially. And I mean, Wes, you've seen enough state finals games, and so have you, Joko. That those kids came out and they were amped up, but they were nervous.
Sure. And
you really don't necessarily see that a lot with Morton, but I think this year you had a lot of kids besides Tinley Dow who had played as like subs.
Oh, sure.
Got in 8 to 10 minutes in a game.
Yeah, I mean, Morton, this is their 4th title in 5 years, but when you're a junior in high school, 2 years ago is a lifetime ago.
Right.
Even when you're a senior in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, those girls, they've been to state, and Bob's been there, and he knows all the ropes, he knows all the things, giving a little bit of a tiny bit of an example. They send over their weekend itinerary like on Thursday with everything they're doing the entire weekend.
Right.
I mean, they've been there before. They're pros.
Exactly.
But the girls necessarily haven't. And you think, like, oh, Morton's been here, they know. But like I said, freshmen sitting on the end of a bench now versus a rotation player, that's entirely different. And they're human beings. It's a state tournament, and they have, and that fan base, as I wrote about in Saturday's Journal Star,
the cherry
red. No, not cherry red, just cherry.
Just cherry. I will say this about Morton, and they've done this before, and I like it. So they'll go to the shoot around on Thursday, go to the banquet, come home and sleep in their own beds.
Right.
Play on Friday, come home, sleep in their own beds.
Right.
Saturday, then they stay in the hotel and they enjoy it.
Right.
I mean, they'll go to the 4A session. They'll wake up, have breakfast together, and then the celebration starts.
Right.
Whereas in the 4-class era, like you see a lot of celebrations are on the same day. Like Springfield, for example, they celebrated there on the same day. Morton, I think that's a credit to Bob Becker, is like, okay, with that itinerary, we're gonna space this out, and have these girls enjoy it instead of, okay, you guys won, we're putting you on a fire truck, we're packing the gym full,
right?
And then Sunday it's over,
right? No, and that is one of the I think one of the side positives of a 4-class system is that everybody gets trophy when you're a state already.
Absolutely.
And you could argue there's 2 sides to that coin. You can argue that takes some of the excitement out of the weekend,
right?
From a general fan standpoint, but from a team standpoint, you're like, well, no, the pressure's off. Like, we got a trophy. We're here for 2 days no matter what. And let's go enjoy it. I think you saw that with Lewiston a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Like, you tend to see teams a lot more relaxed at State now than they used to be, and whether or not that's a good thing is your opinion, but someone's opinion. But and does it lend for good basketball? I don't know, but it's certainly a different.
Because in the 2-class system, you won that super.
Right. You still had to win another game.
You still had to win on Friday, and then playing 2 games in 2 days on that Saturday. I mean, anything can happen.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move over to the boys recap. Manual, we could have potentially a all Peoria sectional final, which has only happened one other time in like the last 17 years, 18 years, which was Notre Dame and Manual from a handful, 3 or 4 years ago. Tell me about the Rams last night. They took down a pretty formidable Rock Falls team.
Yeah, that was a very good Rock Falls team they beat, and right out the gate they showed why they were 31-2 at the time. After the loss, but that Rock Falls team, they came out, they were hitting some threes, they were getting to the basket, and Manual seemed like they couldn't really get anything to fall early. Eventually Rock Falls had them down 29-22 at halftime. And it seemed like, halftime adjustment for Coach Coleman, getting his players to apply some defensive pressure, which Manual's known for. So they really stepped it up on the defensive end. Rolando Brown, 7 straight points, in the second half, right out the gate. They end up getting some buckets late. I think Amarion Bird hit a 3 to cut it to. He hit a 3, and then Maurice Bird hit 2 free throws, and they were down 37-35. And they swing it to the corner to Lorando Brown. Pee-wee, sorry, likes to be called Pee-wee. He had a pump fake, drove the baseline, and finished strong right at the third quarter buzzer. So they went into the fourth tied at 37. Okay. Rock Falls, grabs an early lead in the fourth, just back and forth. But probably in the last 2 minutes of the game, you could see that defensive pressure from Manual really wore Rock Falls down, and it started to wear them down early in the fourth, but late you could see it was just kind of getting to them. And Manual ended up hitting a couple big buckets. They got a layup, hit some free throws down the stretch to kind of seal it, and they end up winning 57-48, to get in the sectional title. So I talked to Coach Coleman on Monday night. He said the key to that game was just to attack the basket and really apply that defensive pressure, and it showed late in the game. That even Brad Bickett, coach over there at Rock Falls, said they haven't seen defensive pressure like that.
Yeah, as good as the team Rock Falls is, they are, I believe they won the 99 1A title. So they're kind of still in that small school mode, the situation where a lot of their schedule is a lot of smaller teams.
Yeah, I compare them to IVC.
Oh,
right on that.
Bingo.
Get them
right on that 2A.
Here I got IVC.
2A, 3A border, where they're one of the smaller schools.
Macomb, Kewanee.
Yeah, exactly. Small on the 3A side, big on the 2A side.
Right.
And they were coming off they had a bad taste in their mouth coming to the Peoria sectional before the year that Bloomington finished third. I think that was 2017. They got beat by 20.
Yeah.
In Peoria. So they were coming in, a little bit, okay,
chip,
we want to, right the ship on this. But, yeah, I looked at their schedule this morning, and, I mean, they play, a lot of 1A, 2A schools. I'm not going to, call anybody out. But,
sure.
I mean, it's just, that 31 wins is okay.
Right, that doesn't mean they're a bad team.
Right, absolutely.
Let good be the enemy of great, but yeah, it's just a situation where their ranking was maybe a little inflated, their record was a little inflated, and conversely, Manual's might have been a little. I mean, they struggle. They've come around though. What was the key? I mean, what has Manual been doing right in these last 3 wins that they hadn't done during the regular season?
I mean, honestly, the last 3 games, because I've been to the regional, there's regional semi-regional title against Metamora, and then last night, and it is key. It's, that defensive pressure. Like I said, Metamora goes up 28-25 in the fourth, and then Manual banks in a 3, and it seemed like they just turned the ball over late when they had to. They got it back. They were making free throws down the stretch. A little bit off on their free throws last night, but they did hit the ones that they needed to when it mattered to extend that lead. Same thing with IVC. That Holt Gallmaker, he had 40, but they outside him they just kind of kept the guys at bay, turned the ball over, getting steals. Like last night, they had 8 steals as a team, and Marshawn Tolliver, who's a sophomore, I believe, he had 3 to lead the team. So it's guys like that coming in for
him. Defense too.
Yeah, defense and forcing and that's 14 turnovers. So.
Yeah, I think we were discussing this in the office a little bit last week. I don't call it a dirty secret, but the secret of, Peoria basketball dominated the 90s, and much of that was good coaching, but much of that was good defense.
Oh yeah.
And you look at some of the scores that our teams put up when they were winning championships, and they're playing in the 40s, they're playing in the 50s. Sean's team with Coach Bisher running the show there with the defense was about defense. Syak, McLean, Mike Ellis. Mike Ellis largely got to state and got that runner-up because of defense. It's fun in the regular season when recruiters are watching to drop in 25 points, but getting stops, getting the steals, is pressuring the ball. That's stuff that wins you games in March. Notre Dame's tonight. Matchup with Dixon.
Yeah, so Notre Dame plays Dixon tonight. Notre Dame's 23-5 going into that. This Dixon team's 23-7. They did meet a little later, or earlier in the year. I can't remember the exact date they played.
February 2nd.
Was it February?
Whoa.
Okay, right off the top. February 2nd. I should know that, being a basketball writer. But same type of game, whereas like Manual, last night, Notre Dame, they're kind of back and forth, but then it seemed like Notre Dame just late in the game kind of pulled away. They ended up beating Dixon 52-40. So they were kind of, but we've seen Notre Dame do that too, and credit to them as well with Blocker, what he does with their zone defense. They wear teams down late. They play games in the 40s, and they had teams. Quest was with them right there early in the year, but they wear you down late, and they get baskets when they need them. But yeah. Honestly, if Notre Dame can win in Manual, that's going to be a grinded-out defensive game.
Not to put you on the spot, who won their matchups in the regular season?
During the regular season, Notre Dame defeated Manual twice. So they'll be going, if they
once
win
by
tonight,
30, once by 5.
Well, look at that.
Yeah, so they won 62-30, and then 51-46 when Manual played at their place. So two different games, but I think the way Manual's playing right now, whether they get Dixon or Notre Dame, just Manual looks like a really well-polished team right now, so clicking at the right time.
Well, speaking of our big schools, Pekin, I know they ended their run last night up in East Moline in a sectional semi, lost to Danville, but it was a nice little run out of the Dragons.
Yeah, and we've seen kind of late in the year Pekin, when they're hitting their threes, they find their stride there, and they've obviously proven that they can beat some of the best teams in the state. To reach, they knocked off number 3 ranked Normal Community in that regional title. And then last night, it was a hard-fought game for 3 quarters, and then in that fourth, it just got away from them a little bit. They lost to Danville 68-57, but yet they were up 7 at half. Pekin was tied after 3. But then, got outscored 25-14 in the fourth. So Danville's one of those teams. They got a lot of different scores on there. It seemed like it kind of just got to Pekin. But credit to Jeff Walraven over there in Pekin. That was a great season that they had. End up finishing 17-13 on the year. So,
well, would Danville run into? Are they playing Belleville West?
Yep,
Danville's going to play Belleville West.
Okay.
Yeah, it was going to be a tough. I mean, they beat Normal Community, which was surprising. They beat Rock Island, which wasn't quite as surprising as the Normal Community win. But yeah, it was going to be a tough.
Well, yeah,
road to get through
before
that
they beat Peoria High too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah, that was.
And the thing too with Pekin, Patrick Torrey, 6'7" forward. Obviously, they're pretty much their guy all year, but they're going to have their entire team back outside of him for next year. So they got Max Jones, a junior. Adam Cash, or Max Jones will be a senior next year. Adam Cash will be a junior. So they'll have a good core group there next year.
You got to think they're got to be among the favorites in the Middle Illini for sure.
Yeah, especially with Metamora losing Hall and Nayland and Havens and Dietz.
Right.
That's their squad, and East Peoria on the up and coming list, and
I think Washington will probably turn some things
Washington
around.
will turn some things around. So, yeah,
a lot of young kids.
Peeking in the conversation, Morton's going to be losing their 1-2 punch with Kreider and Olden, but you got to think that seeing some of these JV teams, they got some good kids that'll it'll be interesting.
Are we already breaking down 2019-20 middle line hoops?
Skipped right past state.
I wrote that about Morton for Monday's paper.
Pressure on Morton, dude. Come on.
Pressure. Jeez.
Speaking of state, we're here. We don't have anybody in the area hooping up down at Carver this week, but 1A, we got Cissna Park taking on Moequa Central A&M at 11 a.m. Friday, followed up by Chicago Providence St. Mel and Concord Triopia at 1. Let's just stop right there. We'll start with the 1A thing. Anything pop out to you Joko? Adam, too? You can...
I think you mentioned that before the podcast, the two twins from Cissna Park.
Yeah, it's a nice
6'7", big guys for them. I think last night I was reading over their story. They didn't have a problem with Yorkville Christian. I believe at one point they're on a 22-4 run. Just seems like I'm not sure about Moequa if they have a lot of size. If not, correct me if I'm wrong.
Guys, yeah.
They got some big guys, but yeah,
Andrix, Connor Heaton are both 6'6", 6'5".
So when you get to state, obviously it's no gimme game, so it'll be a battle. Yeah, should be good.
We got almost AP voters kind of knew what they were doing with these ranks.
Yeah.
Adam, you mentioned some of that.
Yeah, St. Mel's 1. Central A&M is 3, Cissna Park is 5, and then Triopia received votes in the final poll. Yeah, that first semifinal, I think that should be a pretty good game. I mean, that's
because things it seems like in the 4-class era that a lot more double-digit loss teams sneak through the state, and somehow, I mean, obviously there's more classes means more chances for upsets, and you spread things out, but this is a nice field. I mean, you got a combined 16 low losses between the 4, which is usually kind of don't get. You always sneak one through, it seems like. And then even on the 2A side, we have one double-digit loss, but that's Chicago Orr, who's won the last 2 state titles. So, that's certainly not your average 11-loss team there.
No.
Speaking of 2A, we'll move on over to that. Orr is taking on Chicago Corliss, which is our 3rd Chicago team of our 8 down here. That's the 5:30 semifinal in 2A, and then the nightcap is Nashville against Gibson City Melvin Sibley.
I think that's going to be a battle.
Me too.
That'll be a battle. Yeah.
I think that's going to be maybe the game of Friday.
I agree because I like Orr over Corliss pretty easily. I mean, Corliss is a nice story. They took out our Bureau Valley people last night. But again, they kind of slipped in. I think Orr is going to give the winner of that nightcap pretty good game, of course, on 2A. But in 2A, what sticks out to you? Anything there, Adam, John?
Yeah, in GCMS, they lost two games early because their team went 14-0, won the state title. Football. Yes, correct. Football. And so they are technically at full strength on a 45-game win streak.
Wow.
So that's
football and hoops.
Yeah, right. Football and hoops.
That's incredible.
And that's pretty awesome to have a core of juniors and seniors that are just making that transition. And I remember, and Wes, I know you've been on the beat, and watching those football players play that first or second game after, and it's just like
heavy-legged,
real heavy-legged, a little bit more physical than you probably see them before. And I mean, these guys are probably playing maybe 12 minutes because they're just gassed.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this GCMS team in it. I mean, the Heart of Illinois Conference represented yet again.
Heart of Illinois Conference just seems like they're winning. And Eureka's on the upswing in a ton of sports. Down Tri Valley, DMAC, GCMS. I'm sure I'm missing somebody.
I mean, we're
Fieldcrest, right?
Fieldcrest.
Matt Chastain led.
That's right,
Leroy to a title. Hayworth has been there.
Yeah.
D-Mac has been there in the 4-class era under Matt Cruzy. So I mean, yeah, they've just had sustained success, and that conference is tough.
Yeah, and going off what you said, you know, and listening into that teleconference today, 8 of the 9 seniors they got are going on to play college sports.
No, that's
Rylan Holt, Minnesota State basketball commit. You know, up until he committed, he's a 6'5" forward. He had 19 offers, full scholarship offers. He had 16 Division II and 3 Division I. One of them being Army, West Point there. So I mean, they're very talented. Bryce Barnes, who's their leading scorer, he's a 6'3" guard. He was their wide receiver, 2-time All-State, you know, football player. Pretty much their vocal floor leader there. They got you know, just a lot of different shooters for them, and Nathan Gerard off the bench for them. He was their quarterback. So it's just like multi-talented guys that just know what it takes to win. You know, multi-sport athletes. So just. That would be a good game with Nashville. Nashville 34-2, ranked 1 all year. You know, ranked number 1 all year. So. And
a fun little note: Wayne Harry, coach of Nashville boys, won a title with the girls.
Correct.
So he'd be the first coach to do it, right?
Yes, he would be. Yeah, Nashville upset that Tori McCoy led Champaign St. Thomas More team. I think her junior year. That was kind of considered a big upset. And then St. Thomas came back the next year and won the title, pretty much going away. But yeah, that'd be cool to see, having a guy who coached and won boys and girls.
Sure,
definitely.
And speaking of multi-sport athletes, I mean, we talked a little bit about GCMS's football acumen, but then over in 1A, we got Moweaqua and Concord were both state quarterfinalists in football, and they were both 1 win away from meeting each other in a 1A football semi, and now they're 1 win away from meeting each other in a 1A title game. All right, before we wrap up, we're going to go around the horn here and get our champions for 1A and 2A. I don't know if you guys have thought about it yet. Put much thought in your.
Yeah, I have.
We'll go around the horn 1A and then 2A. Adam, we'll start with you in 1A.
I'm not betting against Providence St. Mel.
Oh.
I mean, solely based on their strength of schedule and their ability, to just defend and then just score pretty much at will. Right. So I'm going Providence St. Mel.
Okay.
Yeah, 1A, I'm going to stick with Duvie on that one. Providence St. Mel, you look at their schedule, who they've played, and just, beat some really good teams. And I think 1A, I'm not going to say they'll blow through it.
Right.
I think they'll have, there might be a close game or two, but I think they'll win state there, no problem.
Yeah, I like St. Mel too. I mean, I like their matchup in the semi. Kind of get a little bit of break. A lot of balance there with they got Tyrell Nelson and Deion Jackson, who both doubled. I think they might have a couple other players in double digits as well. They just really bring the pressure at you. So I'm going to go with St. Mel as well. Flip over to 2A. Who you got, Adam?
I'm going GCMS.
Whoa!
I'm going with them with the upset. I think they'll beat Nashville, and I think they'll upset Orr.
All right, I like it. Joko?
I'm going to take GCMS in the title, but I think Orr might clip them in the title game. So Chicago Orr. I think GCMS gets past Nashville on Friday. I think that'll be one of the best games at state, Nashville GCMS, as far as just a grinded out battle between the two.
Prime time Friday night, Nashville GCMS. I'm going to have to go with Orr too. It's just experience playing on the court.